This is Sarah Squires bringing you behind the headlines in today's edition of WYO Today Newsroom. Today, I am joined in the studio by Jack Schmidt. He has some pretty exciting news to tell us today. Jack, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. And it is today's news, isn't it?
It sure is.
I walked in here and I saw me on the newspaper. That's pretty cool.
Yep, you're getting the best of both worlds here, Jack. So we had a story breaking this week that you're kind of right in the middle of, and it's an exciting thing for Riverton, for Fremont County, and I think for the state of Wyoming as a whole. And it has to do with kind of a unique coming together with our Wyoming Historical Society and the Wind River Heritage Center here in Riverton. Tell us what it's all about, Jack.
So it's happened really fast, but it was one of those things like it was the marriage made in heaven, because it seems like everybody's happy, at least at the start of it. So the Wind River Heritage Center has been in existence for at least 40 years. Mm-hmm. Started by a man named Jake Korell. Jake Korell was called the last of the mountain men. And so even to get a little more background than that, this is the rendezvous city. The reason it's called the rendezvous city is because the old trappers had their rendezvous here at the confluence of the Big and the Little Wind River. And so all those old-time trappers in the early 1830s came here to trade their furs for supplies. So that's where the term rendezvous city came from. So our heritage is really tied up in that. So the 1838 rendezvous site was the initial part of this. Jake was a big member of that society. And he, as a trapper, he was also a taxidermist and did some fantastic work. He and acquired every species of land animal in Wyoming, every one of them. And so they decided the family build a museum. And that was the Wind River Heritage Center to display his work. Now, Jake lived into his mid-upper 90s, active the whole time. I mean, he's a legend. When he passed away, the family kept it going. They added a wax museum. The Ripley's had a wax museum in Jackson Hole that shut down. That was gifted to Thermopolis. Thermopolis gifted it to the Wind River. So they moved this thing out there. And that's out there right now. And it's hard to describe. The every time I go in it, I see something more. And so that's what the Heritage Center, that's what the Historical Society is doing right now. There's two buildings out there. One building will be the Cultural Center, where we've got a lot of plans for that. But the other one's the Wax Museum that have all these mounts, plus the characters. And that's what we've been working on right now. Our goal is by May 15th to have that side of the Wax Museum open. There is 44 dioramas there, from everything from Lewis to Clark up to the Crowheart, Chief Washakie. The stories about Tom Horn's in there, Cattle Kate's in there with the wax figures of them. And Sarah, it's amazing to me. There's pictures of these people. There's pictures of Washakie, pictures of Jim Bridger, and those wax figures look just like them. And it's just like stepping back in time. But what you'll notice, little things like these people aren't very big. They weren't very darn big back then. So it's authentic right down to the thing. Plus, they put all these mounts in around there. And so there's, I think, 70 or 80 from everything from weasels to grizzly bears in that thing. And it's great for kids because the longer you look, the more you see. There's little bitty weasels in there, and then they'll be able to wait for the kids to identify them and know what they are. So we're right now, that's the first thing. By May 15th, we're going to have the Wax Museum open. We've already recorded a walking tour for each one of those 44 stops. We're putting that on a QR activated thing where people can come in and go through it at their own leisure. So anyway, so let's get back to the origins of it. This came about just a couple weeks ago, really. after the Korell family, you know, it's a big expense and a lot of work. So they transferred it to the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce had it for a couple of years, I think, and did a great job. But it's a committee. It's a, you know, it's people wear out, and that's what happened. They wear out, and it kind of went languid there for a while. And I think it's been closed for a little more than a year. And that's every time you go by there. That's one thing about it, Sarah. It's right there on the road where you drive by it all the time, and you look over there, and you wonder what the heck's going to happen to that thing. So it sat there doing nothing, and about that time, the Wyoming Historical Society, which was headquartered in Wheatland, decided to move up here close to the center of the state. And Allie Phelps, who is a native here, and the Phelps Sheep Company is a pioneer in this country, but so the family's here. She wanted to be closer to her family. She talked them into moving the Historical Society up here. About that same time, the Amanda Henry, who was the chairman of the council that took over the city chamber committee that took over the Heritage Center. There was only a few people on that committee, and Kip and Janet moved away. I mean, it's just everybody was too busy. The people that have time to do stuff are just too busy to do stuff. So nothing was happening, and just by magic, Allie and Amanda came together, and boom, and 6 days later they were signing the transfer papers. So now that center is legally in the possession of the Wyoming Historical Society. They renamed it now the Korell Center. Let me be sure I get it right. The Korell Center for Wyoming Heritage. And they got a lot of big plans. It's really, really cool. Like I say, we're going to get the Wax Museum open, by the 15th, and then work on the Cultural Center. So what that'll be, and Sarah, what I like about this is it's ideas. I really like people that come up, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, and I love that. My favorite Western artist is Charlie Russell, and there's a diorama of Charlie Russell in the Wax Museum, a picture of a statue of him. But Charlie was my favorite Western artist, but he was also a great author. And he wrote a lot of stories, Rawhide, Rawlin, it was really good. Trail Spot Under. And these little stories, when he's talking about something that starts, a lot of times he'll say, well, somebody come up and kick the lid off. That's how things start. Something kick the lid off. And I really think that God put me here to help kick the lid off of stuff. I'm not very good at finishing, but I'm pretty good at kicking the lid off of stuff. And that's what this is. This is something that it needed the lid kicked off of. And now people can come in and participate and help.
Yeah. Well, it certainly sounds like kind of a perfect match, here for both of these organizations. Of course, the Heritage Center board had been sort of seeking some direction. The center hadn't been open here in a couple of seasons, and people were sort of wondering what's going to happen there, because that is such a busy corridor entrance to Riverton. And I think, previous studies that kind of look at what tourists are looking for and that kind of thing, that's sort of the prime spot here. And so
that is it.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity there. And of course, having such a big and beautiful facility to showcase Wyoming history with such a valuable collection from the Korell family, and all of Jake's lifetime of work too is putting you miles ahead, I think.
And
from
a
the
lot of
line.
other people have donated stuff too. I mean, it's amazing the artifacts that are in there, and that's one thing we're really, really working hard to do is make sure that those chronicle those things to get them down to where they know where they came from and who donated them, and to give them credit for it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jack, I'm wondering, it seems pretty clear here that you are in the mix here with this marriage with the Wyoming Historical Society's new digs. Tell us what your role is exactly here.
What's it say on the? I think I'm the museum director.
You got it.
I wanted to be the executive director. I said I don't care about the money because they're not going to give me any. But they, I want a title, so they called me museum director, which is kind of dumb because I don't know squat about museums, but I'm smart enough to know what I don't know and ask people that do know. I'm real lucky. My wife was actually an archivist at Iowa State, and so she knows this stuff. She said, well, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And that preserving that thing, all those artifacts for time, is the big thing. So we're doing that right now. We're cleaning these things, make sure they're presented right, make sure the temperature and the humidity's right, doing all the things they're supposed to. But it's not me that's doing it. It's just, well, I guess I am, but I couldn't do it. I'm not bright enough to do it. But I do know people that are.
Yeah. Now, Jack, I know that, good things come from good old-fashioned elbow grease and committed folks and generous donations and good ideas. And I know you've got a lot of that in the mix here already, but what are the things that folks here can do to help?
So number one, come down and just visit with us because that's it. The ideas are a big part of it. We're going to do that. Of course, donations are important, but my position is, and I think the board's position is, where the worthwhile thing like this, it's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to happen. We don't know if it's grants or contributions or whatever, but it happens. And so just come down, get involved. We need volunteer labor. Well, that's this spring. My gosh, there's a lot of cleanup to do on the outside, especially. So come down, and we're going to have lists of tasks that need to be done, and people want to volunteer for those tasks, or a group wants to come down and volunteer for those tasks, we can do that. So just come down and get acquainted. I think it would be the big thing. Or stop at the Historical Society and give them some money. And there's a lengthy list of donors that are on the wall, people that supported these things in the past. So we're contacting them to see if they want to continue that support, local companies, whoever, that want to kind of keep our history from falling away. So if this is something, and it is a 501c3, so, it's a nice little tax deduction.
Well, I think we sure appreciate the efforts to showcase and preserve the history that we value so much here in Wyoming. And, one of the things that, like the stars that have kind of aligned here too, I think, is that, we're talking about kind of trying to open things up here this summer. And that's coincidentally when we're going to be celebrating this semi-quincentennial or
That's 200, easy for you to say.
250th birthday of America, the American story here. And so it'll be very interesting to see how we're able to really celebrate in style here in Riverton as we are host to this statewide organization, the Wyoming Historical Society, and sort of seeing it really grow and blossom here in Riverton. Now, I'm wondering, Jack, if you can just sort of speak to your own thoughts about the value of history, and the importance of us all kind of coming together and lending a hand and being part of preserving it and telling those stories.
I grew up in agriculture, specifically animal agriculture, but all of production is agriculture, and that's the only way new stuff came around. If you take a seed and put it in the ground and it sprouts, you got to plant that there wasn't a plant there before. And you take that on back. And I like this. I hadn't really thought that much about it until this little project came up. But the fur trading was the first agriculture. Now you couldn't grow things out here, but those first mountain men had to survive. And the resources that we had that the good Lord gave them were those fur-bearing animals. And there was a market for those. So they, even though the conditions were terribly, terribly hard, they started that, and those original mountain men settled the country, and that's where we need to honor those. That's where the 1838, the Rendezvous Committee has done for years and years and years, and that era of the mountain man, I think we do a lot of in there, and to keep those memories alive. But then the settlers came and the Western migration, and those were the cattlemen and the cowboys, and there's a lot of stuff in there about the open range country here. We got stories about Tom Horn. We got stories about Big Nose Bill Parrott. There's all those stories that bring these things to life. But that was production. That was agriculture again before the farming came. So that's what kind of turns me on, is that history that reflects back to our very, very start as an agriculture community. One thing that I'm very adamant, very, very interested in, is keeping those stories out alive. There's a lot of pioneer and homesteading and old-time ranching and farming families around here right now that are so doggone busy. It's so hard to make a living right now. They're working their butts off, that they're looking forward and working, and they don't chronicle their history. And I hope we can do that. We want to put a studio in there where ranch families or whoever can come in, tell their family story, and then we'll archive that. And if they want to put it out, fine. If they want to just keep it for themselves, fine, whatever, But just I'll give an example of that, because in my own little world, I was back in the Flint Hills and running cattle. My son's almost 50 now, and he was born, and then his mother was killed in a car wreck there when he was 4 or 5. Anyway, so he called me up just a year or so ago and said, "Dad," he said, "what ranch were we?" Because we rented ranches and moved around a lot after Linda was killed. And he said, "Dad, where were we living? What ranch were we on when I was born?" And I couldn't remember that. And I didn't have any way to find out because she was gone. He was too young to remember. So that was an example for me. Those kind of things, put that stuff down, because there'll be your kids, your great kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids. They might want to know it. They will want to know it. They will want to know it.
Yeah.
So let's chronicle what we got now and keep what we've already got.
Yeah, definitely. That's really exciting. The kind of oral history aspect and creating that record.
And the way, you're going to help me do all this stuff, and we'll get it digitized and archive it and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it is such a unique format because, you can write down the words, you can read them, but, to hear people's voices and to preserve that
and
is...
maybe even see them.
Yeah.
Well, that's what great grandpa looks like.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Because believe it or not, kids, we are part of history ourselves as well. It is happening every day, every moment. And there's something special, I think, to remember down the line, even if maybe we don't think about it that way every day, Yeah. So, what is it like for you, Jack, thinking about kind of having a new job here? What are the things you're most looking forward to?
Well, for me, it's the people. I like people in little doses, and I think this would be a good way to do it. I mean, I can't, I'm not a people person at all on the long term. But just, how are you, and tell a story and a joke and go on down the road. That's what I do. And that's what that idea of being able to help, especially tourists. I want to do this history thing, but especially tourists. I'd like for that to become kind of a welcome center for people coming through on the way to Yellowstone or coming into whatever. They can stop. So there's 3 acres there. We're planning kind of maybe a camping area. Some people can stop, they can get out, they can walk around, they can go through the wax museum, they can go through this. But then we could have a conversation with them. Say, howdy, how are you, where are you from, what are you looking for? And one thing, Sarah, I thought about, everybody I've ever talked to that goes to Yellowstone wants to see the wildlife. Pretty damn rare to see anything up there, isn't it? Except another tourist. So what we've got is the next best thing. We've got these mounts of every animal in the state of Wyoming that they can come through. Okay, kids, if you see one of these, that's what it is. So we got that big draw there. But for me, it's just kind of trying to help them get along, and plus guiding them to the kind of experience they want to have. Because they want to come in and ride a horse. Well, tell them where they can go ride a horse. You can't find that anywhere else, can you?
Yeah, well, it's really wonderful to see Riverton, setting the stage for being, such a destination here. I think we all know that we've got a gem here, but to be able to showcase this statewide history and to be kind of, the capital of Wyoming with history,
Exactly.
essentially.
And let me throw in here something that's thought about the Wyoming Tourism Division. Helen Wilson was down at the signing we had the other day, and she's, I mean, this is exactly what they love this, and so she's going to help a lot because people call them and say, well, what do we do? And she's, she got an office up there, so now she can say, call Jack.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time here, and it's an early stage, and as you were saying, Jack, that it's now is the time to be sort of collecting those ideas, and really soliciting feedback from folks who might have something they can lend a hand to, because
Yes,
we all got to pitch in here to make this thing really shine, I think. Now, before we go here, I think I solicited a poem out of you, Jack. Have you got one in mind?
You set that up pretty good when you talk about lend a hand. So I'll do. I've got a poem that I call my resume in rhyme. Okay.
All right.
I used to shoe horses. I used to cut meat. I managed a feedlot quite a while. I grew up dreaming of buying a ranch and raising cattle and horses in style. But life pulled a fast one. Time took a turn. Fate pulled that wool over my eyes. You see, it takes more than hard work and dreaming to buy a ranch and survive. So then I bought cattle. I traded horses. I sold feed. I worked for the Livestock Gazette, doing whatever it took to stay close to that land that I'd never get. I was in ag broadcasting and ranch real estate. My hat, my boots, and my gloves, drawing a check as I went down the road from the people that I wished that I was. Oh, I know I've been lucky to have all these jobs and let me stay close to the land. I'll never own that ranch in my dreams, but maybe I can lend you a hand.
That's wonderful, Jack. Are you writing another stanza?
Now that's yeah, about this. Actually, I got to give Baxter back. He passed away 10 years ago, but that was a poem that he wrote that I adapted a little bit.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, if you're listening today and you're interested in helping out or just kind of checking out what's going on and seeing how you might be able to lend that hand we talked about, you can reach out to the Wyoming Historical Society at 307-332-3014, or you can visit their website. That's wyshs.org. I want to thank you so much for joining me today here, Jack, and sharing this really incredible news. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, sir.